Welcome to this week's edition of FTSR Driver of the Week. Each week, we shine a spotlight on one of our outstanding drivers, sharing their unique story. This week, we have an incredible driver who truly embodies the spirit of FTSR. Let's dive in and get to know our Spotlight Driver of the Week, Ben Tracy. Let's join Ben and Richie in the studio.
Hey, welcome everybody. This is episode 4 of Spotlight Driver of the Week, and tonight's driver comes to us with 72 starts in FTSR. He has starts in both the Truck Series and the Cup Series. He's got 6 poles, so we know he's got 1 lap speed. He also followed that up with getting his first win at FTSR this past October at Talladega. So I'd like to welcome to the show Ben Tracy. How's it going, man?
Good. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here. I like this series you've been putting on, so it's good to be a part of it.
I appreciate it, man. We're trying to get a little bit of information about all our drivers out to everybody, and I think it's had a lot of good positive feedback. So you are technically my 3rd episode, but we're including the one I did on Marshall way back in April. So you're the 4th episode, and we'll see if you have some different answers than some of the other guys that have gone before you. But I can't wait to get to hear some of the behind the scenes over at Tracy Motorsports.
Oh yeah.
So the first couple of questions, we're going to sit down. We're going to go through some questions. We're going to talk about yourself. My first question always is, where do you live? Where are you from?
I was born in Portland, Maine. Grew up in South Florida. Moved down there in 2001, I believe. Joined the Army. Ended up living all over the place for a little while, and then got stationed here at Fort Riley, Kansas. Met my wife, and now I live here. So
You said you were born in Maine. Where
I was Portland, Maine.
Portland. Okay.
Yep.
So I've raced in a track called Wiscasset. I don't know if you know.
Okay.
Do you know where Wiscasset is? It's in Maine.
I've heard of it, so I've never been there or anything, but
It's
heard of it.
Really neat racetrack. So I've been to Maine.
Yeah.
Beautiful state. I actually have never been to Kansas, so hopefully I can add that.
You're not missing much, man. There's not much here, so
a lot of farm.
That's the way I like it. There's just not much here. There's not much traffic. I go back home to Florida, and it's 45 minutes to get 5 miles across town nowadays. Just too many people there. Here, it's just the right amount of people. There's no traffic. It's perfect. So I don't live on a farm or anything like that. I got about an acre of land just right on the edge of the county city line. And the in-laws got tons of land. Don't really farm it much unless you count planting and harvesting crops so that the deer come to our land. Then I guess we're farmers. So
You're farmers.
yeah, we try to be.
Okay. So how old are you?
I am 29.
29. And now the big 3-0 coming up soon.
Oh yeah, super stoked for it. All downhill after that, right?
Listen, I've been well over it, and as far as you're concerned, I'm well over that hill. So
You look like you're in your prime, so I got nothing to worry about, right?
exactly. You got all. It's all downhill when you get to my age. At your age, you're still going uphill.
All right, sweet.
So we already know now that you are married.
I am.
How long you've been married, and how many kids do you have? Because I know that we had to do this interview at the schedule of your little one.
Yeah, we absolutely did. We got married in 2001, so been married a little over 3 years. We just had our first child this year in April. So first son, he's just turned 8 months old. So that's been quite the adventure, but it's been a good time. He's at the age now where things are a lot of fun, just as much work, but more fun now. So he doesn't just look at you and stare at you and you're like, what's going on in that little head? Now he's got emotions and reactions to things and a little sense of humor going. So.
I do remember that age well. When you get to the age that my daughter is, you're going to want them to go back to the age that they were where they couldn't look at you and discuss anything. So enjoy it now.
I don't know. I'm really looking forward to the potty trained stage.
The potty trained stage?
I think I think that'll be prime time for me. Once we're done changing dirty diapers, we'll be in there in the zone.
Let's move on to what do you do? And I love them. I've been waiting to get you on camera on this one. What do you do for a living?
Yeah, I think a lot of the guys already know it, but I'm a cop in real life. Tony's favorite.
What are you, a cop?
I am indeed. So I think I I'm gonna have a good fun paint scheme coming out for the 2025 A season. I think everybody will enjoy it. So
Okay. All right. So
yeah.
let's so you're a cop, but what kind of cop are you? I mean, you're not just a cop, you're a sheriff, right? You're not a sheriff,
So we have a really weird jurisdiction, actually. We are a combined agency. Back in the 70s, we used to have a bunch of different agencies in the county, like most counties do. Our county decided that they were having issues communicating in Kansas. A lot of the towns in our county are super small towns. So they'd have like one officer who was on duty for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, and had to get called in if he was off duty or something like that. And so back in the day, they decided, you know what, let's have a county police department. So we get 70% of our funding from the city of Manhattan, Kansas, which is where Kansas State University is.
Okay.
And then 30% of our funding comes from the county and the adjoining townships. So we are the Riley County Police Department, which is very odd, and I think we're the only one in the nation.
All right. So let's head into racing a little bit. So do you watch any racing? And if you do, what do you watch? And do you root for any specific driver?
Yeah, I try to watch as much of it as my wife will allow during racing season. She says, "Why are the races always on? 3 days a week, all you doing every night's watching racing." But I do watch. I do as much as I can, as much as she'll let me, and as much as work will let me. Anyways, I'll watch NASCAR and I'll watch F1 here and there. Not huge into F1. I think it's more of a manufacturer sport than a driver sport. Although NASCAR's pretty dominated by a few big dogs out there, but still got to drive those cars. Not that you don't in F1, but yeah. So favorite driver is going to be Ross Chastain for NASCAR.
Ross Chastain.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's the closest thing to Dale Earnhardt we've had since Dale Earnhardt, right? I mean,
Yeah,
guy goes out there, blue collar guy, just works his ass off and doesn't take any shit. So
loves his watermelons.
loves his watermelons. I mean, he hasn't lost touch with reality like a lot of these guys have, and still during the off season he's back home farming, working, always talking about his family. Seems like an overall good dude. So
Okay. He seems like a good dude. I mean, I'd probably go have a beer with him. You know, it's
oh, I'd love to. Seems like a good time.
he seems like he would be a good time for sure.
Oh yeah. Plus he's a Florida boy, so that's where I grew up. I claim Florida, even though I was born in Maine. I grew up in Florida.
Where in Florida?
I grew up in Cape Coral. It's a little bit north of Naples, south of Tampa, right there on the Gulf Coast. So,
all right, let's move a little bit into sim racing. So how long have you been sim racing?
I started sim racing, I believe, April of last year. So only a year and a half now. So not too long.
Yeah, you're a newbie.
Oh yeah.
Ah,
So,
okay. I mean,
just getting into it.
which again, I said this last week about ages, but this is kind of cool that we could bring up the fact that we have an FTSR. We do have guys like myself, some of the other guys that have been sim racing since the late 1990s.
That's how I got into sim racing was my dad. He's been sim racing since the 90s. So he used to be on a pit crew for some dirt track racing and stuff and some asphalt late model stocks back in the day up in Maine.
Okay. Probably at Beach Ridge.
What's that circle track?
Beach,
that
Oxford Plains.
Oxford Plains.
Yes.
So he used to be up there and doing that stuff. And then I came along and he had to decide what was important, money or his kid. And I appreciated that he chose his kid and gave up sim racing for a while. But he started sim racing again, I want to say probably 5 years ago. As he upgraded his equipment, he would call me and say, "Hey, you want to get into sim racing? You want to buy this off of me?" And I said, "Yeah, let's do it finally." And so bought the T300, Thrustmaster T300 set off of him, went out and bought me a desktop, just a computer monitor, and he sold me his PC as he upgraded that, and started out just mounted to a desk, had a great time, and just been slowly piecing things together ever since. So
Okay. All right. Well, you covered a little bit of the next couple of questions. The first one was going to be, how did you get in sim racing? So, and your dad has raced with us a couple of times, right?
yeah, he loves the league, and He just doesn't get the time anymore. He got a promotion at work, so he's just busy working too much and hasn't been able to be on the rig as much as I'd like or he'd like. So that was one of the reasons I got into this, was him living in Florida still, me living up in Kansas. We don't get to spend a ton of time together. We all busy and got our lives and everything, so our time together was on this rig. So unfortunately, we don't get to do that as much anymore. But he's technically retiring in January. He's going to work a couple more years, build up his pension a little bit extra. But soon enough, hopefully he'll be able to get back in the rig and spend a lot of time on here. So looking forward to that and hoping he can still catch a couple races next year.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. So that's a cool point that you bring up. The fact that he's in Florida and you're in Kansas, and sim racing brings you guys together, gives us the ability to be anywhere really in the world and be able to be together and to be able to talk and hang out and spend time together. That's awesome.
Absolutely. It's been awesome. I mean, it's crazy how far technology's come. I mean, we drive at 180 miles an hour, a few inches away from each other. Sometimes we touch each other because we're across the country from each other. But I mean, we're all sitting there all across the country, racing with each other, having a good time, getting to know people we never would have come in contact with otherwise, and making great friends out of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's super cool. And I mean, I've had guys who have showed up at our police department as new cops and been like, hey, what do you do for fun? And over the last few years, I've had a couple who are like, I do sim racing. And I'm like, you on iRacing? Yep. All right, now we're instantly buddies.
Did we just
now
become
we're hanging out? We
we
just became best friends.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So it's pretty cool. And I mean, it made some of them guys that you might not have ever dedicated that extra time. I mean, we've got hundreds and hundreds of department employees and stuff over at the police department, and we see people all the time. We're just like, hey, pass by them and keep going.
What's your I rating?
Yeah, exactly. So
that's awesome. I have personal friends of mine that have been trying to get into sim racing, and I just can't seem to get them to break into it for one reason or another. But I do have.
It's a leap. It's a monetary leap.
It can be for sure.
Yeah, for me, I had nothing. If it wasn't for my dad helping me out and giving me an absolute really ridiculous deal on all this equipment just to get my foot in the door, I still wouldn't be sim racing today. I mean, it's $1,000 roughly if you don't have a good PC, it's $1,000 to start.
Yeah.
And you're talking about bottom of the line stuff, one monitor, desk mounted, wheel and pedal set, bare minimum. So
the advantage to that though is sim racing. You buy stuff hopefully once. It may upgrade a couple years down the road, but you're once.
Yeah.
Real racing, you're buying tires every week. You're buying gas every week. You're fixing anything on the race car. You got to pay to get the car to the racetrack. You got to pay to get in. So at least with sim racing, there's that one-time expenditure. And
yep.
I mean, iRacing, you had to buy
That's
tracks,
the problem with NASCAR nowadays, in my opinion, is you can't just. I mean, my son that I just had, I would love to get him in the door with NASCAR racing, just something in motorsports. And I mean, just to get him a go-kart and get that thing, tires, everything changed all the time, get out to the tracks, get into races once he's a few years old and can do that stuff. I mean, you're talking exorbitant amount of money just to do that as a kid. And then as he grows, things are changing and the money never stops. So
it does
you
not.
You can get as many sponsors as you want, but at that level, especially, they're not paying for you to go out and race. So
it's a very expensive pastime racing. So
yeah,
I've
his dad's
enjoyed
a cop.
especially
So we don't make much.
I've enjoyed my time on sim racing because of the fact that when I go on a racetrack, I'll have new tires every time. When I go on a racetrack, I know the motor in my car is going to be as good as every other motor on the racetrack. Everything that when I start my sim car, that it's the best that you could possibly have on the racetrack, just like everybody else does.
Yep.
And so, I mean, there is a lot of good to sim racing, and it allows a lot of people access to a racing environment that they would probably never be able to have any other way.
Absolutely. I wouldn't be racing in real life. I wouldn't be on the rig if it wasn't for this iRacing and the platform that they give us. As much as we love to talk crap and complain about iRacing, I mean, if you just take a wide approach to it, what they're able to do for us is pretty spectacular. I mean, we'd all love things to be better and tweaks and this and that, but we all get to race every week and with people that we never would have come into contact with and make friendships that we never would have had.
All right. So you mentioned starting out with the Thrustmaster. Where are we at now? I see you're in a track racing seat.
I am the TR8 Pro, I believe. So I've upgraded the cockpit. I've got a full cockpit now. I'm no longer desk mounted. I'm in the TR8 Pro. I
And
still have the
just so all the viewers at home know, right now he's actually got his cell phone taped to his steering wheel so that we have video tonight. So we are actually looking at him from the steering wheel.
We are. Yeah, this is what my monitor sees for several hours at night sometimes.
So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. You got a
Yeah,
rig.
you're good. Yeah, I've got the full cockpit now, the TR8 Pro. We've got the wraparound seat on it, and then still got the Thrustmaster T300 steering wheel because it still works. Would love to upgrade to a direct drive, obviously, eventually, but it's one of those things that you only want to upgrade once, and I want to get the right one, and that costs money. So
It certainly
until
does.
the T300 stops working, or I get a bonus that I don't see coming, I'm going to be on this T300, but I did make an upgrade to the pedal set. I upgraded to the Hussenfeld Sprints. Hussenfeld Sprints. So
you're the
I
second
couldn't,
one. You're the second one,
yeah.
and that's the three. Because that's the same pedals that I have. So,
Yeah, I mean,
awesome,
you
awesome.
can't get a better pedal for the price. It's that perfect sweet spot where you're getting a good quality pedal at a fair, reasonable price that doesn't just break the bank.
So yeah, so you got Hussenfeld pedals.
Yeah, got a fourth monitor up top. I mean, I don't have 3 monitors down bottom, but I've got the double-decker monitors here. I've got everything I need except for 2 actual monitors, so it's something that'll be upgraded with time. But just one thing at a time for now. I think the triples is going to be the next thing. So
Triples will be good.
Yeah,
They helps.
It'll be huge. So especially in oval driving, I mean, there's so many times where you're just trying to look, especially on like restarts, something like that. If you're on the front row, trying to make sure you're staying behind, and I'm over here hitting buttons to look to my left and try not to run into anything in front of me. And so it'll be a lot of side-by-side racing going on ovals. So it'll be good to have those.
All right. So my next question is how did you get started with your race team? But you started your race team. But how did you get hooked up with who you got hooked up with? So you raced with Jay McKnight and Daniel Simmons. Your father, I think, originally was part of the team. Is anybody else? Am I missing somebody?
I had my buddy from work that was on the team for a little bit, Nick Dugan.
Okay. Yep.
But he had a shift change at work, wasn't able to get into the races anymore. So he didn't stick around too long, and he's actually stopped sim racing since then. So he will not be back next year. But Jamie and Daniel, yeah, my dad has been good buddies with them in the sim racing world for years and years. They've met up. Jamie and Daniel do real world racing, go-karting. So my dad's actually made it up to Daytona to watch them race and everything like that, and met them. So pretty cool. And then luckily my dad just introduced me to them when I got on the rig. That's where I met Jamie and Daniel and really got hooked up with them. And we've been linked up ever since. They raced in FTSR before I came over here, the 2 of them and my dad, and said it was a great league. Come on over, and brought me in. And Jamie and Daniel, they're great sim racers, and they have taken me under their wing and taught me so much. I mean, I can throw a setup in there from a setup shop and try and race, but those guys walk me through what's changing and how to adapt the car to those things and adapt that setup to my racing style and really make it work. So, I mean, they've brought my ability up tenfold from where I'd be without them. So appreciative to those guys.
All right. What are you going to run this year? I know your schedule changed and all that kind of stuff. What are you planning on running this year? This year we have Cup, Truck, Xfinity. We have GT3 cars. Take your pick.
Yeah, we got it all over here at FTSR, which is one of the cool things about it. I mean, whatever you want to run, it's here. Yeah, I'm kind of in a weird spot at work right now. Last year when I was running, I was working day shift, so I was always off at 5 o'clock to get home and run, no matter what day of the week it was. Now I got moved to mid shift, so I'm working 11:30 to 9:30 at night. So I
Ooh.
can't. In the way our scheduling works, we work 410s, and we either work Wednesday through Saturday or we work Sunday through Wednesday,
Okay.
and that rotates every 3 months. So if I'm on the rotation where I got to work on Monday nights, I don't get to come out, and I never get to come out on Wednesdays.
Right, because
So
you're
that's
working
why.
one way or the other. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Wednesdays, we call it Super Wednesdays. Everybody works on those days. So I never get to come out for the truck series until I get back on day shift at least. And I'll be out running cup anytime my schedule allows me. So I actually am switching my schedule back January 2nd. I'll have Sunday through Tuesdays off again. So
Okay.
I'll be out there. I believe Michigan is the first race I'll be back for
Awesome.
for the D season. And then I should be good for season A in 2025 for the Cup Series. I believe season B is going to be my schedule is going to be switched back, so I'll be working. And then hopefully in July is when we do our shift selection, and hopefully I've got enough seniority now to get back on day shift. And it doesn't matter what days I'm working after July, and I can run the rest from there on out.
Awesome.
Yeah. And if that's the case, I'll start running trucks again too after July. I do enjoy the truck series.
Well, we definitely want you back on track. So I know you got a weird schedule, but do you have any goals for sim racing in 2025?
Yeah, I mean, I got my dogs on both sides of me. Just they want involved. Here, you guys want to say hello? Say hello, guys.
They're like, Daddy, what are you doing?
Yeah. Why are you talking to Green Dad? All right. Yeah. The goals for league wise, I'd like to definitely make the playoffs again. I believe I finished in 5th place overall season playoffs last year, so I definitely want to make the Final Four this year. That'd be an improvement. I'd like to win a race that is not a super speedway this year. Although the super speedway, you still got to work for it.
You did,
but
and you came close a lot this year. At the end of the season, you got close to a couple wins.
I did. I really did. I remember early on in the year, I really thought I had a win in the bag, and then I got a silly penalty for like a passing under yellow or something when I was on pit road or something ridiculous, and I was so mad. I mean, it just is what it is sometimes.
It is.
iRacing being iRacing.
Exactly.
So really looking to get more than one win, and at least one of those not being in a super speedway would be super cool. But our team's always dominated those super speedway races. So I remember, I think it was Daytona towards the end of the year, just before the playoffs. I mean, we finished 1, 2, 3, 4 and had like I don't even remember what it was, like 17-second lead on everybody else. So
that's what I think you guys pitted, and it was a pit strategy call, and it worked out very well for you guys.
I think actually you were in our pack there.
Yeah.
Something happened to you. I think you had a speeding penalty or something like that on pit road, and it ended up being the 5 of us. They're just flying around the track for, I don't know, felt like 45 minutes together. Just don't run into each other, and the most boring race of all time.
So outside of sim racing and work and your kid, is there anything you like to do hobby wise?
Yeah, big on hunting. That's what I've been doing. That's why I haven't been making a lot of the GT3 series that we have going on in the league, because I've had Saturdays off lately. But through November, December, and part of January, I'm either out hunting whitetail deer or duck hunting or something like that. So yeah, that's what I spend most of my fall and winter doing, and then summers just hanging out with the family, getting out on the boat, doing some fishing, really trying to get outdoors and just enjoy life. Go do some kayaking through the Kansas River, stuff like that. So
cool, outdoor stuff.
Oh yeah, try as best as we can. So
I said last week, I said I think we're going to find that we do have a lot of hunters in our group. So I think you guys will end up having like a little subsection in our Discord for hunting.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. So we'll post our kills. Although my wife's tagged out on the year, and I haven't pulled the trigger on a thing yet. So
your wife hunts with you as well?
Oh yeah, she's a huge hunter. So she put down a buck early season, and then put down a doe last week. Last week was the end of rifle season. She put a doe down. I'm just a picky trophy hunter at this point, and nothing big enough's come my way yet. So doe rifle season opens up in January, and we'll fill the freezer then.
So, all right. So we're down to our last two questions.
All
And they're the
right.
two off-ball questions I like to throw everybody at the end just to see for giggles and stuff. So what is your favorite movie?
Favorite movie is actually a weird one. Well, may not be weird, but it's Miracle, the old
Miracle.
hockey movie about
About
the
the 84.
Olympics
Yeah.
team with the USSR. Yeah, I just love that movie. I'm not a huge hockey fan. I enjoy hockey, but not super into it. But that movie is just something about it just gets you going. It's a good story, good acting, good all around movie. So
All right.
Miracle.
Miracle.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay. I've done, like I said, you're my fourth one so far, and I've gotten four completely different answers, which I love because it shows the diversity that we have. So, Miracle, 84, the 84 hockey team. So, and our final question,
All right.
favorite food?
That's a tough one. I knew it was coming.
Yeah, unfortunately, now
yeah.
that everybody's starting to watch these, they're going to start knowing my questions and start
Yeah,
preparing
I
for
knew
them.
that question was coming. You're gonna have to change it up now. That's still a tough one though. I knew it was coming, and I'm still undecided. But so I'm gonna go with two different ones.
That's fine.
I love venison, some good old deer steaks,
Okay.
fantastic. Um, with some mashed potatoes, green beans, just perfect. Number two be chicken fried chicken.
Chicken fried
Some
chicken.
chicken fried chicken, nice breading on there, some good gravy, mashed potatoes. Oh, it's just hits the spot.
Those are two very, I would say, very Midwest oriented type meals. I don't think you had a lot of that in Florida.
Yeah.
Well, maybe
No,
Maine,
yes.
but definitely not Florida. But that's
No, we had the chicken fried chicken at the Cracker Barrel in Florida.
Cracker Barrel. Yeah,
That's yeah,
I'd love me some Cracker Barrel.
oh, yeah, it's a good old Cracker Barrel. We go there all the time, right about 4 minutes down the street from my house. It's good breakfast over there too.
They're finally starting to come to New Jersey. So I have one that's about
Ooh.
35 minutes away, but it's on the way to like Pennsylvania. So if I go in that direction, they're like, we're gonna stop at the Cracker Barrel.
It's right off the highway. Every Cracker Barrel
Everyone
ever made
is.
is right off the highway.
And
So
they're all the same.
they are.
And they all face the highway the same way, so that you can always
Mhm.
see the exact same profile. It's
Yep.
very good
And
marketing.
they've got the 100-foot giant
Yep.
pole with the sign right out front, every one of them. So, yep, they, they don't stray far from what works. So,
Why would you? I mean, it's a Cracker Barrel.
yeah,
Come on.
yeah.
So, that is all the questions that we have for Ben for tonight. I can't thank you enough for going through all the hoops that we went through prior to starting the recording to try to get you on video. Last week was our first video one, and I think it worked very well. I like seeing people's faces. I think everybody else likes to see everybody's faces too. It puts, it puts a little something behind a voice. So I do appreciate you going through them hoops for us, and for you hopping on board and being our Spotlight Driver of the Week this week.
Absolutely. I appreciate you for having me. Like I said, I love what you're doing with the series. And yeah, hopefully now when I break check someone or maybe come in a little bit too deep on someone, they'll see my face instead of just this bumper that they're staring at afterwards.
Just
and
that
like,
voice. Just that voice. I know the voice. Now they
yeah,
have the face
brush
to
it off a little bit. It's okay. I'm pretty good about coming into your Discord after the race and letting you know I screwed up and I'm sorry about it. So
Yeah, I do like our conversations where everybody hops in, and we do have people yelling at each other every once in a while, but it all works out at the end. It's a one big happy
yeah,
family.
I was gonna say I've seen a lot of times where people are yelling at each other in there, and then after a couple minutes, it's just like, all right, we're good. We're on the same page. We're cool. It's all right. And you
It's
move on.
it's the passion. It's
So
part of the passion of what we do.
yeah, and that's one of the reasons that FTSR doesn't like us yelling at each other mid race because it gives
Yep.
us that little buffer time. Calm down, figure out what actually happened, go back, watch it, and figure it out afterwards.
Hash it out afterwards.
I appreciate you having me overall and look forward to watching this episode, watching future episodes, and getting to know the rest of the guys in here in FTSR. So
That's all from the guys in the studio. Thanks for watching. FTSR would like to thank Ben Tracy for joining us in the studio tonight. Please hit that like and subscribe button. If you're looking for a league, make sure to check out Full Throttle Sim Racing. You can see all their information on www.ftsr.net. Check back next week for Who's in the Spotlight.